What's up everybody, I'm Z-Wade, the Z-Wade and Z-Wade Photo, and I've got two cameras out here with me today on this beautiful day.
Whoa!
The Nikon Z5 and the Nikon Z6 II. But hey Z-Wade, why not the very nice Z9? Well, because I'm doing a lens comparison.
Duh.
Today, we are doing the Nikon Z14-24 f2.8s versus the Nikon Z20mm f1.8s. I want to see if there's a huge difference between zooms and primes anymore. I don't think there will be, but we'll find out. To be fair, we're going to shoot the 14-24 at 20mm and the 20mm at f2.8, all equal. It looks like I finally found a use for this gimmicky little top screen. We'll pick up our first shot right here. There's plenty of colors. There's some green, blue, red, yellow, and lots of stuff that we can zoom in on to see if there is any detailed difference between both of these lenses. Really interesting, you can actually tell through the cameras. Now this is a Z5, right? So it is arguably not as good as the Z6 II, but just looking through the viewfinder, it looks way nicer through the 20mm, even at f2.8, all things equal. This one actually kind of looks more clear. You guys don't know this, but I actually love taking pictures of rust, right? Mostly with macro lenses, but I just like the texture that they bring out. So we're gonna do a couple of up close shots, up close, wide angle, yes, I know. And we're gonna see if we can see a difference in the texture. If my ass is hanging out, you'll tell me, right, Chris? This is some serious pixel peeping. It may just be to the effect of maybe a couple millimeters, but it definitely doesn't seem like 20mm is 20mm. So I've tried kind of coming back and forth to get that plane, which by the way, guys, if you don't know, that's what this little mark that you see on top of your cameras, that right there is actually whenever your lens says it'll focus at X distance, it's measuring from the top of that. That's actually where your sensor is. So I'm trying to compensate for that a little bit, and I still feel like maybe 20mm and 20mm, but it's probably just a couple millimeters. So I think we'll do this scene last, and that'll just give us about 3 images to compare. Now we just need to go back to the studio and jump into Lightroom and see what the differences really are. All right, my friends, we are back in the studio and it is time to check out these images. The first thing I want to check is distortion. So let's see the 20mm and the 14-24. Looks like one is pincushion, one is barrel distortion, totally common on wide angle lenses. Okay, now we've got the 20mm on the left and the 14-24 on the right. Right off the bat, they both have excellent color. The 20mm looks like it's a little less flat in this area. That would be easily fixable with a little bit of contrast added to this. The contrast on the 20mm is almost unrivaled, but the 14-24 is doing a pretty good job. And if we get into pixel peeping mode, the text on this trash can looks a lot tighter on the 20mm f1.8 than it does on the 14-24. And we can see that is getting out towards the edge, but closer to the center, they both look pretty much the exact same. I'm not seeing a whole lot of difference here, so that's good. Although this little sliver of red, and guys, we're grasping at straws here, it's a little more rich on the 20mm, but it's barely. The colors in this shot seem to be very, very similar. And it's only really when you zoom out that you can see that the color of the brick is just a little more rich, and that's like almost nothing. Kind of hard to choose a winner here, so it's probably time to move on to the next image. The vignetting on the 14-24 is much more apparent in this image. Getting into pixel peeping territory again, the 20mm advantage is much greater right here. This definitely looks tighter than this, like sharper, and it definitely has better contrast and color. And again, getting out to the edge here, The 20mm is much more clean, and we're also seeing a little bit of a blue cast, which is strange because they were taken within seconds of each other. And this just kind of overall looks a little cleaner. Looking at our next image, this is where I kind of noticed that maybe 20mm isn't necessarily 20mm, and I don't know which one isn't exactly 20mm, but I noticed it in this shot. Let's just get in here and see what kind of differences we can see. Other than the fact that I think my focus was a little bit off on this one, this is actually the hardest one to see the differences. The vignetting is really the only tell on this particular image, so I don't even see much difference in color. And on our final image, again, the vignetting is apparent on this one from the 14 to 24. Let's get in and look at some color. The stairs look much more rich in color on the 20mm, which is what we have been observing this whole time. The brick, it's a little more flat on the 14 to 24 in this particular situation. It looks more flat, and this looks very, very rich. The 20mm definitely is not without vignetting. This looks a little awkward, but I'm trying to hide the phone number and address for this office. I see right off the bat, like, it's just barely like more rich in colors on these smaller objects here, these smaller squares. And this is pretty interesting. Even though this is just a picture of a person, the skin tones are much better right here than they are right here. The skin tones within the picture. This is a little more flat, kind of has a cooler tone, and this has like a warmer tone. I find that kind of interesting. Now, it's your job to let me know in the comments which one you think looks better and which one performs better. And also let me know if you would rather take a prime or a zoom into the field. To my eye, the 20mm is a little bit better. We're grasping at straws. Although I do want to mention that compared to other primes and pretty much every other zoom in the Nikon Z lineup, the 20mm takes the cake. As far as color and contrast, I mean, it really, that lens really kicks ass. The difference between those focal lengths is stepping forward or stepping back a little bit. And it's actually cheaper to get the, the 20mm if you don't mind leaning in and backing up. And you also get, you know, f1.8 at that. So for me, if I could only have one, I would definitely pick the 20mm, especially after this test. What's really amazing is Nikon is doing so darn good with their lenses that you really don't see the differences that you used to see. All of the things that I pointed out with the 14 to 24, I could easily correct with one slider. You know, add a little bit of red, add some contrast. And once you learn how to adjust a single color slider and the contrast slider, you're really stuck with, do you want the aperture or do you want the zoom? I'm Z Wade, the Z Wade, and Z Wade Photo. Stay sharp, YouTube.